xTool S1, just got it here, got it set up and did some preliminary tests on it. Did some cuts on it and engraves and the honeycomb board on it. I like to have layout grids for my lasers. So what I did was I cut a piece of this stuff, this is 1/2 inch MDF, and after you take the honeycomb board out, it will actually fit down in the tray in there. So what size do you need to make that? Get a pencil, write this down. It's 15 5/16 by 24 1/8, and you'll need to round the corners around a little bit because that's not a perfect square, it's got some rounded corners. But that will fit in there just perfect, and it doesn't do any of this stuff. So your grid will always be right where you want it. Now the grid I'm making is 490 millimeters on the X and 310 millimeters on the Y. That'll be the grid that will engrave. I'll take you on the computer here and I'll show you what it looks like. Let's start here in xTool's Creative Space. There's two versions of this file. This is the simplified one that you can use in Creative Space, and there'll be a download link for that as well. There's no charge for this. You'll see where that's highlighted blue there. You have this little gray area up here. You can't do anything up there. So this, you have to stay out of that gray area. I'm on a really shaky table here, so this is kind of hard to do. But using your control key and your arrow keys, you can get that kind of centered in there where you want it. And the settings here for score, my settings up here. So I picked, for material, I just picked 3.5 millimeter corrugated paper. That gives you a fairly good setting for the MDF. And if you don't think it's dark enough, just run it twice. Now I'll show you what you need to do in LightBurn. So there's a different style file for LightBurn here, and I'll get that up here. Now this is in LightBurn. So as you can see, there's some more bells and whistles there. And if you want to add some text and other lines and stuff to the Creative Space one, feel free to do so. I have a problem getting, I create this in CAD, and I have a problem getting that to import directly into Creative Space because my text always ends up all weird and wonky, and so that's why there's no text over there. You'd have to add it yourself. Okay, what I had to do here was make some changes. So if you go up here to the little wrench, I need to change that back to millimeters so you'll understand what I'm doing here. Go up here to your little wrench, and that gives you the settings for this. Now, the stated engraving size for this is 498 millimeters wide, and it still is, and 319 millimeters in depth. That's on the y-axis. However, it's not. You've got that grayed area where I showed you in Creative Space where you can't do anything. So what I did was I changed my setting here to 293 millimeter. That gives me a little bit of play space to be able to use my grid. So you have to make that change right there. And incidentally, while you're here, if you, I do have the Enable Laser Fire button on. Turn off the laser on when framing. You don't need that. And you also want to make sure your Enable Z-axis is on. But if you're already playing with this in LightBurn, you know that. So we'll click OK there. So this file is 490 millimeters wide and 292 millimeters on the y-axis. And I have it centered. So what I did here was move over to that, hit that, and that puts it right in the center. The settings for this. Oh, make sure you do your focus too before you burn this. Go into my cuts and layers. Here's the settings. We're doing 8,000 millimeters per minute at 40% power for the black lines. Get out of that so you can see the lines again. And the red lines will burn a little bit darker. And they are spaced at 50 millimeters apart. I also have a 4-inch square in there and a 4-inch circle. Those are for coasters. And the big X there will lay you out directly in the center, and that will burn darker as well. Then for the text, I used offset fill at 8,000 millimeters per minute at 20% power. Again, this is all set up for the 40 watt xTool S1. If you happen to have like a 20 watt, you're going to have to make some adjustments with speed and power. Okay, so here you can see I've got my MDF laid in there. So we will close the lid. And I'm going to frame this anyway because I have not tried that yet. We'll set this up to frame it. Wish this acrylic didn't attract dust like it does, but well, humidity's low, got a lot of static electricity in the air, so every little bit of dust from anywhere is going to go grab that. Maybe I'll try a little bit of Rain-X on it. I know that repels static and dust, as well as water, but I better not be getting any water in here. Everything seems to be framing favorably. Working from absolute coordinates. And I have the grid centered. So if you're working from LightBurn here, make sure you center your graphic in the work area. Okay, everything framed well, so now we'll do the focus. And I hit start, and away we will go. Air assist is on. Keeps the lens clean. Also kind of reduces the scorching. So how long is it going to take to do this? The whole thing will take 36 minutes and 51 seconds. xTool S1 laser. I've got it up here in the laser room, and you don't get to see this room very often because it's very cramped. And as you can see, the lighting is not the best in here for shooting video, but this is where this laser is going to live. I have it hooked up to my vent system out here. And yes, I know the mini blind needs to be fixed. I got to replace that. My Monport 40 watt CO2 laser is also here, and it vents out the other port. So I have made a layout grid for the S1 here, and I'm going to get you over close to see this, and then I'll show you how it's made. There'll be a free download for this file if you'd like to get it and make your own layout grid, and there'll be a link in the description on where to get it from our website. First here, let me give you a kind of a close-up of what this looks like, and it looks like this. And this slips into the laser, and you can pick it up, take it back out. It's made to the exact dimensions, so that it's not doing this thing in there. It sits perfectly square. So this will always be center, no matter what, unless you put the board in backwards, but there's 0 up here for that. That's where it homes up in the upper left corner. And I'll show you how this fits in here in a minute. I also want to tell you a few things about how you have to make this to get this to come out just right. First, though, you're going to want to know the dimensions of this. This is a 1/2 inch MDF thick. Now I got notes over here. I can't remember all this stuff. So your piece of MDF, that's this stuff right here, has to be 15 5/16 wide, 24 1/8 long, and those are exact measurements. If you make it any smaller than that, it's going to want to do the shifting around thing in there. You don't want that. If you make it any more than that, it's not going to fit. You're also going to have to round these edges to kind of match the contour of the inside of the laser. And if you use a quarter, that's pretty close. Lay a quarter on that and trace around that on either sand or cut around, make your radius. Mine are not all exactly perfect, but it fits in there real well. I'll show you how this goes in. Okay, here's the laser with the lid open. You want to make sure you don't have any little EBGBs or gremlins or anything laying around in here that would make this sit in there wonky, because then when it goes to do its focusing, one side would be higher than the other and mess up your project. by the same token, when you have your honeycomb bed in there, if you have one, and I do have one, we'll show here in a little bit, you want to make sure that when you take that out, that any little particles or gremlins or heebie-jeebies that falls through that honeycomb bed, you clean that out. Little handheld vacuum is real handy for that. But to put this in, your 0 in the upper left-hand corner, and it just slips in like so. And as I said, you can't move that back and forth anywhere. Now, one thing I did do on the lower right-hand corner, where I made the radius, I made that one a little bit bigger. So otherwise, there's no way to pick this up, take it out. This way you can get your finger underneath there, and you can pick this up, and you can take it back out like so. And then if you're going to be doing some cutting, you have the honeycomb board, you just slip that in. Of course, make sure when you put your honeycomb board in, you put it all the way to the right. You know, there'll be a gap over there, but you can't do anything over there anyway. You could have made, grab my board here again, I could have made this shorter on this side, but I wanted that exact fit so there wouldn't be any shifting in it. Now, this is 490 millimeters by 280 millimeters grid. Yeah, throw a little tip in here with this too. If dust loves to get all over this tinted cover. I mean, it just attracts it. I mean, the air here, it's wintertime, Northern Illinois is very, very dry. And with that, any kind of dust, whether it's just ambient in the air or from when you're cutting or engraving, even though you've got that fan blowing that dust, just boom, right to that cover. Bounce dryer sheets. A lot of people have those, or Snuggle if you like the other brand. Wipe the cover down with one of these and it'll greatly reduce the static dust clinging to it. Okay, one thing I'm going to have to do in here is replace this tripod I got in this room here. It's got a tilt pan head on it, it's fluid, and I don't know, it's weak or something as the camera keeps going boom. So I have to watch that. So that one's going to get replaced. Anyway, back to the subject of what we're doing here. So again, this file, both for xTool's Creative Space and for LightBurn, there'll be links in the description on where to get it. Not showing burning this, but I've done that on a lot of my other videos. But I just now got this moved up in here and got it all hooked up. It was down in the shop. I wanted to put it up here, mostly because I don't have any more room down there, and I'm running out of room in here. But again, this is a grid. You're more than welcome to download it and burn it. Again, it's made for the xTool S1, not anything else. If you have something that needs this size grid, you could use it for that, but you're going to have to make some modifications. There's also on our website, there are places where you can download different size grids for different size lasers. So that's something you can look at too. So if you got anything out of this, appreciate getting a thumbs up, always helps the channel. Of course, I'll put a link in the description for the xTool S1 and the accessories, because I'm sure they'd love to send you one. And if you would happen to buy one from them, I am an affiliate. That means I make a small commission on a sale, which does not affect your cost whatsoever, but it kind of helps pay for some things around here. So, not sponsored here, just telling you I'm an affiliate. So if you got anything out of this, appreciate getting a thumbs up, always helps the channel. Roger, in the laser room, in the loft, above the shop. Thanks for watching. See you on the next one.